Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name's Uni. It's a really nice day to be spending at a place of prayer and meditation. So welcome to the Vedanta Center. For those of you who are here for the first time, just a bit of information about the place. Toilets, there are some that's down the stairs. You go down the stairs and you turn left and you go straight on to the toilets. For those who need help, the handicapped toilets are inside that glass room over there. If the way in is the way out, so in case of an emergency and you have to evacuate in a hurry, please run out the back. All of you are facing the front, so if you're going to run right, it's the wrong way. Other than that, we'll get started. This is a monthly satsang. We have this on the third Sunday of every month. We spend some time in spiritual communion with the divine, and that's the purpose of this monthly satsang. It's always held on the third Sunday of each month. From here on, I will progressively come up and make announcements, but for now, we shall remain in silence. So, those of you who have forgotten, you may want to put your phone in silent, unless, of course, you're an emergency worker or a doctor that needs to be on special call. We will be chanting hymns from the scriptures. I've left these notes interspace between among the chairs. We'll chant hymns from those notes, scriptures, after spending some time chanting the mantra Om. Okay, then we will have some bhajans, and then we will be followed by a talk from our guest speaker, whom I will introduce a little later. All right, so once again, welcome to everyone.
We shall chant the Om. We shall chant Om 28 times.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओंकारं बिन्दुसंयुक्तं नित्यं ध्यायन्ति योगिनः कामदं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय। ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमो नमः। ॐ जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयोः श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। ॐ नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ॐ नमः त्रयहेतवे निवेदयामि च आत्मानम् त्वं गतिः परमेश्वर। ॐ श्री सीता लक्ष्मण भरत शत्रुघ्न हनुमत्समेत श्रीरामचन्द्र परब्रह्मणे नमः। ॐ आपदाम् अपहर्तारम् दातारं सर्वसम्पदाम् लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। ॐ यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम्। ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ॐ मूकं करोति वाचालम् पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः Shantihi, Shantihi. Lord, tread, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, unity. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is error, truth. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is sadness, joy. Where there is darkness, light. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
गजानना 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 प्रथम पूजन गणराया प्रथम पूजन गणराया गजानना गजानना प्रथम प्रार्थना श्री गणराया प्रथम प्रार्थना श्री गणराया लंबोदरा गणराया लंबोदरा गणराया गजानना गजानना काली काली महाकाली कपालिनी काली काली महाकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा दुर्गा देवी दुर्गा भवानी दुर्गा दुर्गा देवी दुर्गा भवानी काली काली महाकाली कपालिनी मंगल गौरी माता गौरी माता महेश्वरी राजराजेश्वरी लक्ष्मी नारायणी राजराजेश्वरी लक्ष्मी नारायणी काली काली महाकाली
शारदे शारदे वाग्विलासिनी शारदे जय शारदे वाग्विलासिनी शारदे शारदे जय शारदे विद्यादायिनी शारदे अम्बे जगदम्बे काली अम्बे जगदम्बे अम्बे जगदम्बे काली अम्बे जगदम्बे भाव प्रिय राग प्रिय भाव प्रिय राग प्रिय भावप्रिये गानप्रिये अम्बा भवानी भावप्रिये गानप्रिये अम्बा भवानी अम्बे जगदम्बे काली अम्बे जगदम्बे अम्बे जगदम्बे काली अम्बे जगदम्बे महालक्ष्मी अम्बे गौरी महालक्ष्मी अम्बे महालक्ष्मी अम्बे गौरी महालक्ष्मी अम्बे महिषासुरमर्दिनी भवानी महालक्ष्मी अम्बे महिषासुरमर्दिनी भवानी महालक्ष्मी अम्बे जय अम्बे श्री अम्बे अम्बा भवानी जय अम्बे श्री अम्बे अम्बा भवानी अम्बे जगदम्बे काली अम्बे जगदम्बे राम कृष्ण गोविंद नारायणा राम कृष्ण गोविंद नारायणा नारायण हरि नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण राम कृष्ण गोविंद नारायण श्री लक्ष्मी रमण नारायण श्री लक्ष्मी रमण नारायण ओम अनंत नारायण हरि ओम अनंत नारायण ओम अनंत नारायण हरि ओम अनंत नारायण हरि ओम अनंत नारायण राम कृष्ण गोविंद नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण राम कृष्ण गोविंद नारायण श्री Lakshmi Ramana Narayana
Lakshmi Ramana Narayana
Shri Lakshmi Ramana Narayana
Lakshmi Ramana Narayana
Om Ananta Narayana Hari Om Ananta Narayana
Ananta Narayana
Hari Om Ananta
Narayana
Hari Om Ananta Narayana
Otherwise, once again, if we can all have our phones on silent and not disturb the talk. Next, we will have our guest speaker. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the bee gathers nectar from different flowers and converts them into a homogeneous, nourishing honey. Similarly, we need to be open to all noble thoughts and adapt to which that suits us. Then only will we enjoy the true essence of life. Our guest speaker today is Sri Satchitananda Sai. It is his spiritual name. He is a spiritual guide to many spiritual aspirants and spends time between Tiruvannamalai in India and Melbourne. He manages the Jnana Vedanta Institute in Melbourne, and today he will give his insights to us on the topic, From Stressed to Blessed. Yes, we need that. So on behalf of the Vedanta Center, we would like to welcome him to our Satsang today.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yasya Smarnamatrena Dvaitavasana Pramachyate Bodhatmakaya Namastasmai Bhagavate Shri Ramanamarshi Hridakashe Sadabhantam Shantamanandarupinam Jnanabhavanamaham Vande Sadgurum Shri Satyasainam Mamantrayaminam Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine Avataravarishtāya Ramakrishnāya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme tayo shritva pranamami muhurmuhu. Pavitram charitam yasyaha pavitram jivanam tatha pavitrata swarupinyai tasyai kurmo namo namaha. It gives me extraordinary delight to be present here at the Vedanta Center especially because many decades ago, when my spiritual journey began, it began at the lap of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The gospel of Sri Ramakrishna to me was the mother's milk that I drank on my journey. And after all those years, to come here and to be able to talk to everybody is a great act of grace from the Master, is all I can say. The topic that has been chosen to speak about, we've called it From Stressed to Blessed. But before we go into the actual topic itself, a story comes to mind, one of the hundreds that Sri Ramakrishna used to narrate. A small boy was playing, and all of a sudden, somebody jumped in front of him wearing a tiger's mask. So the boy screamed in fright. And on seeing that this boy was distressed, so much in fear, the person took off the mask, and lo and behold, it was none other than his own elder brother. So when he saw it was his own elder brother, he ran and gave him a big hug, and all the fear vanished. This is a story that Paramahamsa Deva would speak about, and it is recorded in the Gospel for us. We will park this tale here and then move on, and then we'll come back to this tale right at the end. In this world of change, we meet with various vicissitudes of life, both pleasant and unpleasant. Any kind of vicissitude is something that brings about a great big change in our life, something unexpected. And that which is unexpected is not always pleasant, neither is it always unpleasant. Sometimes it's a welcome change, and sometimes it's not so. But no matter how this change may be, over a period of time when something unexpected happens to us, what happens? Initially we are able to handle it to some extent, but as the change increases or the change becomes too difficult for us to handle, as we become overwhelmed by it, it develops into what we call as stress. What is stress really in this world? We find everybody has got stress. Ramakrishna would say everybody has problems. Some person says, I'm away from my country. Another one says, I'm away from my beloved. You'll find this in the Gospel again. Two people got together from two different places. And they asked, where do you come from? Oh, I'm away from my country. What about you? Oh, I'm away from my beloved. He would say everybody has got problems in life. Very rare to find people that do not have any problems in life. But why is it that we have so many problems? Actually, they're not problems, they're changes. But when we're not able to handle those changes become stress. And those changes could be physical changes because we are afflicted with diseases. And those diseases are both mental and physical. Not all of them are mere physical diseases, there are a whole heap of mental diseases also. And when I say mental diseases, it's not necessarily people who are going crazy or anything. But worry itself is a great big mental disease. The body is stricken with diseases and the mind is filled with worries. Each one has to have a share. The body says, I will have diseases. The mind says, give me my share, I will have worries instead. It doesn't want to be left out. So in the end, what is happening? We get into a state of unhappiness, turmoil and misery. And this is not something that is exclusive to any one group of people or any one age group or one particular lifestyle stage or anything. It is applicable for everybody because we find the small child is also stressed. A 4-year-old child is also equally stressed. A 40-year-old is also stressed. An 80-year-old is equally stressed. A small child is stressed because its toy is broken. A 20-year-old is stressed because their heart is broken. An 80-year-old is stressed because their hip is broken. In the end, somewhere or the other, some kind of stress or the other keeps creeping in, keeps coming into everybody. It's something that we cannot avoid. Again, Sri Ramakrishna would say, if you work in the kitchen, you will get soot onto your body. It is unavoidable to escape the getting your feet wet if you walk by the river. So in this world, as we are living in this world, slowly, little by little, whether we want it or not, even if you isolate yourself in solitude, stress will build up. In fact, we all know how much stress people got built up when they were all in lockdown, isolated. Everybody was isolated, but that itself was stress. If you are alone, you are stressed. If you are with everybody, you are stressed. Whether you do something or you do not do anything, either way, there is stress in life. This, unfortunately, has become the so-called reality of the life of a lot of people. Even the spiritual people are also equally stressed. It's not just for the so-called worldly people, but those who are trying to be spiritual also are stressed. They have their own kinds of stress. They have their own kinds of stress. They say, oh, I still haven't done 2 malas for today. That is their stress that they have. Oh, I have to wake up in the morning. That itself is a stress. 4 o'clock, unnecessarily I signed up. Now I have to wake up at 4 o'clock and meditate. That becomes a stress. And over a period of time, little by little, drop by drop, this stress increases in us. And at one critical stage, it becomes distress. Until then, we are able to manage, we can run along with it. But after a certain time, we reach a certain point, a tipping point, if you will. And beyond that tipping point, all the stress accumulates and starts to become distress. All the ease goes away and becomes disease instead. And inevitably we seem to be walking towards this. If you look at, if you go look at it from a medical point of view, after a certain age they say, oh, stress will increase. You're subject to stress. In fact, today a lot of people are complaining of cholesterol. I was just talking about it the other day. Cholesterol itself is produced in the body in response to stress. If the body is under stress, if the mind is under stress, cholesterol is produced. Because cholesterol is actually a neuroprotective agent. It helps the nerves, it helps the brain. So when the body becomes stressed, cholesterol is produced to balance that out. But when the body becomes so stressed that it cannot handle it, the very same thing that is produced to help it also becomes a problem. So then they are stressed that they have cholesterol now. It's a vicious cycle that doesn't help at all, isn't it? All of us most of us will be at least familiar with this business or idea of stress. But what we want to do with our life is move from that state of being stressed into a state of bliss, into a state of being blessed. What comes to us in our life is what is bringing stress to us. The situations that you encounter in your life are what is bringing stress to you. And why do you encounter all of those situations? There's only one reason. That is because we would say we all know it's our karma. The karma that we have done in the past is what is coming today in the form of all the various experiences that we have. And we say, oh, I've done good karma, so I'm having good experiences, or I've done bad karma, therefore I'm having bad experiences. Nobody is exempt, I've done only good karma. Some manner of unpleasant incidents or experiences come to everybody. And we say it's all because of our karma. And being caught in this great big cycle of karma, there's no way we can get out of it, because you cannot desist from karma. You cannot stop doing karma. You have got to do karma. Nobody can stay even for a moment without karma, says Krishna in the Gita. You've got to act. But every time you do action, what happens? You develop more karma as a result of the action that you do. Every time you do karma, you develop more karma. It is like an itch. You scratch it and the itching becomes more. And karma is exactly like that. The more we do, the more we accumulate. And the more we accumulate, the more comes back to us, and that becomes again another vicious cycle. So we cannot escape this aspect of karma from our lives. We've got to do action. But then once we get caught into it, there does not seem to be any way out of it at all. So our lives are governed by our karma. Yes or no? This is something that most of us would accept and agree, because otherwise how do you explain everything that is happening to you? And as long as we believe that everything is happening due to our karma, we will remain stressed. There's no other way. We will remain stressed as long as we believe everything that is happening to us is simply happening because of our own karma. So if you do not want to be stressed, you have to stop first believing that everything is your karma. If it is not your karma, then what is it? Here is where the mystery comes in. Here's where the actual key comes in. Once you are able to understand this bit, then your life will no longer be stressed, it will be blessed. So everything is happening to us, various things are happening to us. For instance, we are all sitting here, talking here, listening. We could say this is our karma to be here. Our prarabdha karma has brought us here. The good karma that we have done in the past has brought us all here. Or there's an alternative to this. There's something else that we can say has brought us here. Any guesses? Does anybody want to have a shot at what may have brought us here if it is not our karma? Grace is what has brought us here. Grace is what has brought us here. Grace is kripa. Grace means kripa. Action and the fruits of action is karma. But grace is kripa. So what has brought us here? Grace has brought us here. The grace of the Lord has brought us all here today. If this has happened because of grace, so being here right now at 11:20 is grace. So what about at 9:20? So whatever happened at 9:20, what was that? If you can understand that was also equally grace, and whatever is going to happen at 1:20 today is also equally grace, then what has life become? Life is no longer dominated by karma, life is dominated by kripa. If we can actually eradicate this word karma from our dictionary and instead replace it with this word kripa, then and there life transforms from being stressed to blessed. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very beautiful shloka in the Dashamaskanda, the 10th canto. Brahma wanted to have a leela. He wanted Bhagavan to demonstrate a leela for him, show an act of grace for him. So he did a little bit of mischief. He kidnapped all the calves that Krishna and his friends were looking after. And when Krishna went in search of the calves, he kidnapped all the cowherd boys also. So when Krishna came back, neither the calves were there nor the boys were there. And Bhagavan looked around for a while perplexed. And he realized there was no audience actually, so he gave it up and instead decided to project himself in the form of all the calves and all the cowherd boys. So he became all of them. Not only did he become all the boys and the calves, he also became the sticks in their hands, their lunch boxes, their clothes, the rope around the calf's neck, the bell that was tied to the calf's neck. He became everything. And when he became everybody, the tall boy was still tall, the short boy was still short. The naughty boy was still naughty, the well-mannered boy was still well-mannered. Nothing changed. The dumb fellow was still dumb, the intelligent fellow was still intelligent. Everything was as is. And for one whole year, Krishna lived in Vrindavan in the form of these calves and in the form of these boys and in the form of himself. And nothing changed. Every morning all the boys will get together and they will all play, hey Krishna, you come and play with me. Hey Sridama, you go there. Hey Stoka Krishna, you come here. But all of them were Krishna only. One whole year this drama went on. At the end of that year, Brahma, who had gone to keep these people alone, came back to find out, to see how Krishna was handling this act of his. And when he came, he saw everything was as usual. Nothing had changed. So he was very shocked. Everything was just as usual. It was as though he had not kidnapped anybody, and even more so, Brahma himself could not determine who were the genuine boys and calves and who were the false ones, who were the projected created ones. You know, Brahma is supposed to be the creator, so he would be able to tell the difference, but even he wasn't able to. They were so perfect copies. So Brahma realizes his mistake, comes and falls at Krishna's feet, and then goes on to praise Bhagavan. And as part of that Brahma's Stuti, there is one, it's a very long, elaborate hymn in the Bhagavatam. There's one particular shloka which is absolutely beautiful. In that shloka, he says, Tattenu kampamsu samikshamanaha bhunjanayeva atmakritam vipakam hridvak vapurbih vidadhan namaste Jivetayo mukti sadhayabak. This is the verse in the Bhagavatam. Tatte anukampamsu samikshamanaha. He says, therefore, O Lord, simply looking forward to your grace, Bhunjane eva atmakritam vipakam, undergoing the experiences that come to us in our lives, that have become ripe in our lives. Hrid vak vapuhu. Hrid, the heart, vak, the speech, vapu, the body, vidadhan, giving it over to you, dedicating it to you, offering it to you, namaste, he who salutes you, and lives his life like that, jiveta. Mukti sadaya bhag. He is the inheritor of mukti. He is the person that is most certainly, most definitely to be liberated. He is just waiting to be liberated, that's all. There is no more effort required for him to become liberated. Mukti is granted to him. And what does he have to do for it? All that he has to do is tatte anukampamsu samikshamanaha. He says all he has got to do is simply keep looking at your grace. Now where do we find grace? Where do we find grace? Where is grace? The reality is grace alone is. But grace wears a mask. So we go back to that story that Thakur would say. That there was this little boy who was playing, and all of a sudden somebody jumps in front of him wearing a tiger's mask. So he screams in fright. And when this mask is removed, he discovers it's his own elder brother. So he goes and hugs him and starts to play with him with great joy. What has happened? There was a mask. The mask gave rise to so much fear, so much tension, so much stress. When the mask was removed, the reality was seen. And when the reality was seen, there was no more stress, there was no more fear, there was only bliss. Grace also sometimes wears a mask. Sometimes we know we can see grace directly in all its glory. We can see this grace. When, for instance, we are here, we are listening to something, we are in good company, our minds and hearts are devoted towards the Lord. We say, oh, this is grace that has brought us here. The other times grace is very evident to us is when we are driving desperately trying to find a parking spot, and just then in front of us a car pulls out. What grace? Isn't it? The grace of the Lord. We get a promotion at work. Oh, it's all God's grace. We get married. Oh, it's all God's grace. After a few years, my karma. For some reason, I have found in all the talks that I have given, anything to do with marriage always evokes laughter. So I wonder why people still get married, but anyway. Anything that happens in a way that we want it to happen, we immediately call it grace. But when it happens in a slightly different way, then what do? Then we start to complain, we start to cringe. Again, to another example that Thakur would say. There's a mother, and the mother has so many different children. For one child, she makes a pilaf. For another child, she makes another dish. But for the small baby, she makes something different. Something that is easily digestible for the baby. Perhaps only milk. So she has several children, but for each child she makes a different food, she gives a different food. Why is she giving all these different kinds of food? Does it mean that she is partial towards one child, so she makes a pilau for that child, but the other child she only gives milk? Yeah. This child is 10 years old. This is 10 months old. The 10-month-old cannot be given pilau. The 10-year-old needs a little bit more than just milk. So why is she tailoring it and giving those different particular dishes to those different children? Based on what they can handle, one, and what would do the best and the highest good to them is the most important reason why she does it. In life, all we need to have really is just a shift in our thought. An attitudinal shift. A shift in our attitude. What we are doing or need to do not need to change. They can remain the same. Your lives can remain the same, your life activities can remain the same, because all of that is simply part of your destiny. You've got to go through all of that. And in fact, all of those have been particularly chosen for us by the Lord so that we may attain Him sooner. We may sometimes wonder, why am I here? Why has God given me this in my life? Why are these my experiences in life? But you know something very interesting? What has God done? Now, God has actually, each of us, although Girish Chandra Ghosh once told the master, we are all mass produced, you are handcrafted by God. Sri Ramakrishna, what's the difference between you and me? He said, oh, we are all mass produced, you are handcrafted by God. But really, all of us are equally handcrafted by God. Our lives were not given to us randomly. What God did was, even before each one of us were born, God sat and did a detailed record for all of us. He looked at everything and he did the pluses and the minuses, did a whole heap of accounting, and then he said, okay, if this person is born here in this kind of life, with these kind of parents, with this kind of an upbringing, with these experiences in his life, that is the ideal and the best thing for him. And so a lot of work, a lot of effort has gone into designing our lives. It didn't happen randomly. Even if a novelist has to write a book, so much effort goes into building that character, designing the character. What are the roles that the character plays? What kind of an attitude this character will have? What are the different experiences that comes to this character's life? When even a fictional character can have so much investment, think about all of us. What else is God doing? God also has to have some work. God has work. What is the work God is doing? He is designing our lives for us. That is why He is called Vidhata. There's a name for God. It is called Vidhata. Vidhata means He is the one who is giving to us. Ordainer. The translation for Vidhata would be the ordainer. Means He is ordaining what we should get in our lives. And why is He doing it? Because He loves us so much. And all He wants is for us to come back to Him as quickly as possible. Because that is the goal of life, isn't it? The goal of life is God realization. The one single goal of life, whether we realize it or not, whether we realize the goal or not, we want to realize God. God also wants us to realize Him. That is the beauty. Otherwise, would avatars come? Why do avatars come? Why do Mahatmas and Mahapurushas come? Why did Sri Ramakrishna incarnate? What was the purpose of the incarnation? Why did he have to go through so much tapasya when actually he did not need anything? So much sadhana, so many different types of sadhana. So much discipline. He would tell his monastic, those who became his monastic disciples later on, those boys, and he would say, if I don't practice all of this, you will not practice even 1/16th of it. If I don't do all of this, you won't practice even 1/16th of it. So he practiced everything, he showed everything. What was the point? What was the purpose? Not to attain anything for himself. Because if it were to attain something for himself, then he would not have said, he who incarnated as Rama and he who incarnated as Krishna is now here as this Ramakrishna and not in your Vedantic sense. Vedantic sense means everybody is the Brahman. But then we have to do some sadhana, etc. to realize that truth that we are the Brahman. But Ramakrishna says, no, I'm not in the Vedantic sense, but he who was really Rama and he who was really Krishna is now here as Ramakrishna. So why would then he need to do all of this tapasya, all this sadhana? There was only obviously one reason. What is that reason? The reason was that God loves us so much. In fact, the Bible says that, isn't it? For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. So the fact that God loves us is absolutely clear. The fact that we want to attain Him is perhaps not as intense as the fact that He wants us to attain Him. Which is why He has done so much. He has done more effort throughout the history of mankind. You will find God has put in more effort than we have actually put in. God has repeatedly put in more effort to draw us towards Him than we have done. So He is interested, very interested. He is very invested in it. And so what has he done? So he has taken the time to design each and every single aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not. Nothing is random here. Nothing can be random here. Because the reason why nothing is random is because any one thing that you do here has got so many implications, yes? How can anything be random? Then how can anything be by chance? And the other reason why nothing is by chance is because God also has another beautiful property. God is omniscient. Isn't it? We all agree that God knows everything. God is omniscient. What does omniscience mean? He knows everything. What does it knowing everything mean? He knows the past, the present, and the future. If he already knows the future, what does that mean? So nothing can be by chance. You cannot change the future. You can't do something today that suddenly changes the future and God will be thinking, oh, I didn't expect that. You will never catch God saying, oops, I didn't expect that. He's already planned everything out. So he knows exactly what is happening and where we are going. Which means every single aspect of our lives is kripa, is grace. And so Brahma says, tatte anukampam susmikshamana. If we can only look at that grace, learn to look at grace beyond the masks and the disguises that grace wears. Sometimes grace takes the form of pain. Sometimes grace takes the form of a disaster. Sometimes grace takes the form of a failure. But when we fail, we don't think, oh, by God's grace I failed. Isn't it? Think about it. We say, oh no, why did I fail? Why did God make me fail? God, why did you do this to me? We never say, oh, thank you. By your grace I failed. By your grace I have this pain. Just think about it. The reason for that is because we already have got very clear definitions of what is good and what is bad. A few years ago, and I share this story almost at every satsang. A few years ago, there was a plane crash in Kathmandu, in Nepal. It was a small flight and everybody unfortunately died in that flight who were on board. Because the regions, winds and so on, and the weather, sadly, everybody perished. This was on the news, so we all saw this. A few days later, this news was there, it was sort of international news, but a few days later there was a small article in an Australian newspaper that an Australian couple that had gone to Kathmandu for their honeymoon had missed this flight. They were supposed to be on this flight, but they missed it. They missed this flight. And so they were saved. So when I read this, a very peculiar train of thought started to go in my head. And I've shared that many times in satsangs. So they were late and so they missed the flight. So when they were late, there could have been so many reasons why they were late, isn't it? So most likely, this is what I thought, the most likely reason was they woke up late and they had to rush from the hotel to the airport, but the wife was ready, but the husband was taking a lot of time because he had to get his makeup on, he had to put his foundation, he had to put his lipstick, he had to put his dress on. So she was ready, she was out of the door, but he was getting late. So she was saying, come on, it's time, you've got to get going. I'm coming, wait. Finally he finished dressing himself up and he came out. So they got into the taxi and they were going and there was traffic. Oh, so much traffic. I told you. You did not listen to me. I told you. I kept telling you from yesterday, be ready on time, be ready. It was big. The honeymoon, neither honey nor moon. The whole through they are fighting. All the way to the airport they are arguing with each other, blaming it's because of you. In the end, when they reach the counter, they rush in and they say, sorry, the counter is closed. Boarding's already begun. Now even more, can't you do something? Can you do something? Can you put me on another one? No, sorry sir, it's closed. So once again, see, you're so useless. You can't do a single thing right. You can't even get us get those people to open up the counter for us. All kinds of recriminations and so on. In the end, flight's taken off. They have to go back. And when they go back, they see in the news, this has happened. Now just think about it. Throughout the entire drive, they were saying, we should have done this, we should have done that, you are late because of you, because of... and so on and so forth. But when they go back, when they realize this news, now what would they say? Now what would they say? But for the grace of God. It was simply grace that saved us, isn't it? If grace saved them, grace had to work in a certain way to save them, isn't it? Grace had to delay them. Grace had to bring traffic. On normal occasions you would be thinking, oh God, let there be no traffic, let your grace be so that there is no traffic. Maybe St. Francis of Assisi prayed, oh Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. We would pray, oh Lord, let there be no traffic. Even if there is traffic, let the light turn green, even as I am coming close. Where there is green, where there is red, let there be green. So we already have an idea of what grace is and how grace should operate in our life. So when there is traffic on the way to the airport, we think that is definitely the antithesis of grace, the very opposite of grace. Until we hear something like this happens, then we realize the traffic was an act of grace. Such events happen every moment in all our lives, all the time. In this particular instance, because the news of the flight crash comes back to them, they can corroborate it, validate it, and they say, oh, it's grace. But because we can't yet see, we do not realize that even now it is grace that is operating. Except grace has worn a tiger mask. And when grace wears a tiger's mask and jumps in front of us, we start to scream. We become distressed. We become stressed. All our stress in the end, if you look at it, it is only because we have not identified or recognized the grace that is standing in front of us. So what do we do? How do we do this? Several ways to do it. Several ways to get rid of this stress and become blessed instead. One way is to constantly remind ourselves everything is grace, everything is grace, everything is grace. But then, we know, we've got to be honest to ourselves, we know how sustainable all these efforts are, isn't it? Who hasn't started a sadhana program? Who hasn't had a New Year resolution? Who hasn't said, from Monday, because usually we don't want to start anything on any other day of the week. If something we hear in a satsang, from Monday I will start it. We can't start today, not a good day or something. From Monday, from next Monday, usually it's also not, if today is Sunday, from next Monday we will start it. Like this we have started several things. Several times we have made commitments to ourselves to follow through a certain program of sadhana, a certain discipline. What happens? Initially there is we call it Arambashuram. Initial enthusiasm. Brimming with confidence and enthusiasm, we start working on it. Slowly after some time, it starts to flag. The zeal, the enthusiasm becomes reduced. After some time, we completely forget about it. In fact, we totally forget about it. Until somebody reminds us, hey, weren't you supposed to be doing meditation every day? Oh, that's right, yeah, that's right. Thanks for reminding. Next Monday. So if you've got to remind yourself every moment of your life, it is grace, it is grace, it is grace, well, that's not going to be so easy, is it? Based on our past experience, our past trends. So there should be a better way to do it. What is this better way? Who else shall we turn to? But to Paramahamsa Deva, who says, people shed jug full of tears for themselves, for their families, for their children, for their property and so on. But not one sheds a single tear for God. We've all heard this? Right at the beginning of the Gospel we'll encounter this. On the first few pages of the Gospel itself you'll encounter Sri Ramakrishna saying this, that people shed jugfuls of tears for family, for friends, for wealth, for property and so on. But nobody sheds even a single tear for God. What does it mean to cry for God? What What does Thakur mean here when he says, you don't shed a single tear for God? Has anyone actually wept for God? As Sri Ramakrishna so often would say, cry to your mother Shama with a real cry, O mind. And how can she hold herself from you? How can she keep herself from coming running to you? This is a song that would often be sung there. You would see it in the gospel so many times. Cry to your mother Shama with a real cry, O my mind. And how can she hold herself from you? That is the real longing cry that we're talking about. We are stressed because we do not know what to seek in life. Seeking all the wrong things and then becoming stressed because of it, what else can we expect? What else do we expect? If you put your little foot into a nest of fire ants, what do you expect? A massage? We seek the wrong thing and then we say we are stressed. Then we say we have trouble, we have all these problems. There's only one remedy to it. Easiest, the best remedy for it. Hrid vak vapurbi vidadhan namaste. Offering our hearts, our minds, our thoughts, our words, our deeds to the Lord. When you offer everything to Him, then there is no stress after that. There is only joy after that. Girish Chandra Ghosh, who is very famous in Ramakrishna literature, because initially he was a drunkard, he was a theatre owner, a playwright. For all the wrong reasons he is famous initially. But he had this amazing bhakti to Sri Ramakrishna. Doesn't matter what, but he had this extraordinary bhakti towards Sri Ramakrishna. And so one day there is this beautiful conversation that happens between the two of them, the master and the disciple, where he says, Ramakrishna is trying to tell him how to, have some structure in his life. Think about God, pray to God. I can't do all that. Do some japa. I cannot do all that. I cannot do all that. I cannot do all that. At least think about Him before you eat. He says, sometimes I go without eating. I'm so busy. My day is so busy. Every single suggestion that is given by Thakur, he has got something or the other to argue or oppose or say, no, it is not possible, not possible, not possible. In the end, Sri Ramakrishna says, all right, in that case, give me the power of attorney. Give the power of attorney to me. He says, what does that mean? What does give the power of attorney? Give your mind to me. He says, how do I do that? You just tell me now, I'm here, I'm offering it to you. Okay, I'm offering it to you. I'm giving the power of my attorney over to you. Good, now go. Done. Now you've given it to me, now go. Years later, Girish Chandra Ghosh says, I did not realize it at that time, but now later I realized, if you give the power of attorney over to the Guru, you cannot even think without his permission. You cannot even have a single thought without his approval, without his permission. There was another, he had a friend. He was also a Ghosh. Girish Chandra Ghosh had a friend who was Kalipada Ghosh. Why did they become friends? You have to have something common to become friends, isn't it? If there's nothing common, then you cannot become friends. So he also had something very much in common. What was his commonality? They would bond over a bottle. They would bond well over a bottle. But he was also equally devoted to, just as devoted to Sri Ramakrishna. And in fact, whenever he became too drunk, he would come to Dakshineshwar to have darshan. One night he came, in the middle of the night he came. And he was drunk, but suddenly in the drunken mood he felt he had to go and see Master. So he came. And he came to the room and he was watching through the window. Ramakrishna was inside dancing. In the middle of the night, Sri Ramakrishna was dancing. And as he is dancing, even the cloth that he is wearing around his waist is slipping off, without even realizing that he is dancing. So this Kalipada Ghosh thought, I am drunk. And if cloth falls off from me, I will not know because I am drunk. He is also in the similar state. What is he drinking? So he went and asked him, what are you drinking? Can you give a little bit of that to me? Because I drank this, but what are you drinking? Because he had drunk deep the wine of bhakti. of this divine ecstasy. So one day this Kalipada Ghosh comes to Master and he says, my mind is giving a lot of trouble to me. I'm having so much trouble with my mind. Please help me. So then Master said, in that case you do one thing, you give the mind to me. Same thing, he gave the mind to me. How do I give the mind to you? He says, take some water and pour it and give it to me. My mind is now yours. Dhanam, give. So he took the mind. Good, now you've given the mind to me, go now. So he went away. But the next day he came running back and said, my mind is still giving trouble to me. I'm still filled with so much of restlessness and agitation. At that time, Sri Ramakrishna looked at him and said, you rascal, it is no longer your mind, it is my mind. And I will keep my mind in any which way I want. Who are you to complain? If you have given it to God, what does it mean? Hrid vak vapurbihi vidadan namaste. Giving over your mind, your word, your body, your action, everything, when you give it over to God, what does it mean? Here's the definition. Here's where Thakur teaches us the definition. He says, if you have given it to me, it is mine now. I can do whatever I want with it. Why are you complaining? It's not yours anymore, it is mine. Isn't it? If you give a gift to somebody, you have given somebody a gift. Now once you've given it, what happens to it? It is theirs. And they can do whatever they want with it. You cannot say, where is the gift I gave you? Where is that gift that I gave you? Oh, I've given it to somebody else. You cannot go and complain. You cannot say, how could you give it away? How it was, I gave it to you. It doesn't matter. It is mine. I can do whatever I want with it, isn't it? So when we offer our body, mind, our words, everything to the Lord, it belongs to Him. He can do whatever He wants with it. Whatever He wants with it, in the sense, that is what is already happening to us. Whatever is happening to us is what He wants, and it is happening per His will. In the moment I say per His will, another story comes to mind of the weaver who was sitting and weaving one day. Sri Ramakrishna's one of the many parables. And some thieves had looted a house, and they were running with all the jewels. Police were chasing them. And on seeing this weaver, they threw everything, dumped everything at his house, and they ran away. And the police came and caught him red-handed, so to say, and they took him to jail. And he was presented before the magistrate. So the judge was sitting there, and this weaver was brought to the court. They presented their case. And then the judge looked at the weaver and said, okay, what do you have to say? So he said, by the will of Rama, I was weaving. When by the will of Rama, some thieves came and put these jewels here. By the will of Rama, the police came and saw it. By the will of Rama, they arrested me and brought me here. By the will of Rama, I am standing here telling you this. So the judge said, by the will of Rama, I set you free. Because he understood this man could not have committed any crime. Whatever is happening by the will of Rama, will of Rama, will of Rama, will of Rama. In Tamil, the word will means bow. Will means bow. Rama has a bow in his hand. No? That bow is also called will only in Tamil. But the will that we are talking about here is different. But this will and the will come together in another story that Thakur says. Once Rama and Lakshmana, they were searching for Sita, and as they were going along, they came to the banks of Pampa. And they have been wandering around in so much sorrow and agony, not finding Sita. So they were so tired that what Rama did was he put his huge will, his bow down, and leant on it and said, Lakshmana, get some water. So Lakshmana ran and took some lotus leaves and he made a little cup and brought the water for Rama. Rama drank the water, Lakshmana drank the water. After some time they decided to carry on with the journey. So when Rama lifted his bow up, right at the bottom of that bow there were specks of blood. There were some blood stains there. Lakshmana saw that and he said, what is that? What is that blood there in the bottom of your bow? So Rama looked at it and he looked around and he saw there was a frog that was there. And when Rama had put his huge heavy bow down, it had crushed the frog's legs. And the frog was bleeding. So Rama looked at it and he felt so filled with pity and compassion. He bent down, he lifted the frog up and he said, oh frog, why didn't you call out? When I put the bow down without knowing, why did you not call out? The frogs always call out. No? Why didn't you call out? And the frog said, if some danger threatens me, I call out Ram Ram. In English they say ribbit ribbit. It's not ribbit ribbit. It's actually Ram Ram. Ram Ram. And so the frog says, when any difficulty, any trouble comes to me, I say Ram Ram. I call out Rama Rama. But when Rama himself is giving me trouble, who shall I call out to? I kept quiet. There was nothing to complain. When it was Rama doing it to me, there was nothing to complain. When it was Rama's will and will doing it to me, there is nothing to complain. See, we want Rama's will to protect us, Rama's bow to protect us. But sometimes protection comes in this form also. We cannot dictate to the Lord how He must protect us. No? That is what happens most of the time. We command the Lord how He should protect us, how He should look after us. Oh Lord, give me this and give me that and look after me specifically in this way. Not in any other way, in this way. So we issue the commands and we expect the Guru or we expect God to obey all our commands. It should be the other way around. It should be God giving us the commands and we should be obeying the commands. But on the other hand, what do we end up doing? We call it prayer. We have the decency to call it prayer. But what is it actually? It is only commands to the Lord. Do this, look after me. Look after my children, look after my grandchildren, look after my entire lineage, up and down. Give me health, give me wealth, give me prosperity. And God is not averse to it. He doesn't mind looking after because all the burden of the world is upon Him. This is not some extra burden that is going to break His back. He is certainly capable of looking after us also. There's no doubt about it. In fact, there's one group of devotees that Thakur would talk about. They say, pray to God, ask everything. He's not going to lose anything. He can give everything. And they say, he's got enough wealth. He can grant you all your blessings. It's not that he's going to, lose something by giving it to us. That's fine. He can give. He certainly can give. He is the goddess of wealth. He is not going to be bothered by these trivialities. When the Radhakanta temple was robbed and all the jewels were taken away and everybody came in the morning, opened it and the jewels were not there. And Mathurnath Bishwas was standing there and he said, what kind of a Lord is he? He can't even look after his own jewels. He couldn't even look after his own jewels. What is he going to look after us? He couldn't protect his own self. What is he going to protect us? And Sri Ramakrishna was there and he said, hey rascal, he is the Lord of Mahalakshmi. He is the Lord of Master of Wealth. These petty, paltry jewels that you have put upon him may be of value to you. Of what value are they going to be to him? Why would he even bother to look after them? So he is certainly not starving for wealth. He can give all blessings to us, no doubt about it. But we are only issuing these demands. What are we giving to him in return? What are we giving to him in return? Ideal state would be to not ask anything, only to give. Because that is what he is doing. He is not asking anything, he is only giving. So ideally we also should be only giving, not asking. The Srimad Bhagavatam again. Prahlada, this little boy who is able to bring the Lord, make him manifest from the pillar, has a conversation with Lord Narasimha. Everything is finished. Hiranyakashipu has been killed. Prahlada has been saved. And the Lord looks at Prahlada and he says, ask for a boon. What do you want? Ask for a boon. This boy says, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. So the Lord says, no, not like that. You ask. I have to give you something. He says, no, I don't want anything. The Lord says, no, I came in a hurry. Hari came in a hurry. Hari had to jump out from the pillar because any moment in time. So he said, I couldn't go and buy gifts for you. I had to come in a hurry. So you tell me, I will give you whatever you want. Tell me what do you want. No, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. So in the end, Bhagavan says, I order you, ask. I command you, you've got to ask me something. I can't go back empty-handed without giving you something. I've got to give you something. I can't go back saying, I didn't give him anything. I have a reputation to keep. So ask. So Prahlada says, the relationship between you and me is not based on mutual profit. You are the master, I am the servant. You are the master, I am the servant. You are Swami, the Bharta, I am the Sevaka, the Bhritya. And the relationship between the master and the servant in the world is because the master pays him, he would serve the master. And the master only pays him because he serves him. The master pays the money to the servant because he expects service. The servant serves the master because he expects the salary. Prahlada says, is that the relationship between you and me? Am I serving you because you are going to pay? Are you giving grace to me because I am serving you? Your love is unconditional. Why do you expect my love alone to be conditional? My love is also equally unconditional. I serve you because you are worthy of service. You grace me because you find me worthy of grace. Not because I did something for you. We cannot cheat God through actions. We cannot cheat God by doing something and say, oh, here I did this. Therefore, God is not going to be so easily misled by mere accounting of external actions. Nasabhrityaha savaivanik, says Prahlada. A person who serves expecting that he is not a devotee, he is a merchant. He is only having a transactional relationship with God, not a devotional relationship with God. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna used to frown upon those people who used to praise God by saying, you are the Lord of the universe, you are the master of all these things and so on. He would say, does God care for all those titles? When the father comes home, the father is very wealthy. He has got so many lands that he owns. So much property he has got. He is on the board of so many different companies as a director. So he comes home. When he comes home, his son comes running to him and hugs him. What does the father expect at that time? Dad! Only if the son comes, that is enough. The father doesn't say, oh, director of this company, oh, owner of this property, oh, master of this. He doesn't care for that. Who would care for Ram? Sri Ramakrishna would say, only those who are interested in all of those things will choose to praise God using those terms. If you want wealth, you will praise Him as the Lord of wealth. You want protection, you will praise Him as the protector. If you want health, you will worship Him as Dhanvantri. If you want wisdom, you will worship Him as Saraswati. Depending on what you want, you will worship Him. That becomes a barter. This is why we are stressed. Because we take this even to God and become stressed even there. We may have stress. At least when we come to Him, we should forget the stress. Even when we come to Him, we are stressed. Because we have a big list, shopping list. See, there are two things that happen when you go to a temple. No? Any temple if you go, you stand outside. And then the priest does an archana. So he goes there and he starts offering flowers, chanting the 108 names of the Lord. And in the meantime, you are reading a list of 108 desires that you have. So for each name, you have one desire here. One flower there, one flower here, one flower there, one flower here. We are keeping pace with the priest inside. Sometimes we may have more than he does. He may finish off with 18. We are still going. Because we are only bartering. We are only trading. Even there we are stressed. Swami Vivekananda, as young Narendra, had so much difficulty in his life. So many problems in his life. Father had passed away and all the wealth was taken away. Cases were there. So much problem. And of course, Master knew all the problems that he had. So when he came, Master said to him, go and stand in front of Mother Kali. Go to the temple. Go and stand in front of her. She will give you everything you want. Go ask her. Go tell her all your problems and ask her. She will give everything for you. Go. So he goes. He spends some time, then he comes back. So as soon as he comes back, with that eagerness of a child that Master would show, he said, did you ask? Did you ask? He said, no, I forgot to ask. He says, I forgot to ask. When I went there, I was so lost that I forgot everything. Never mind, go again, go again. So he comes back again. stands there in front of the Divine Mother and comes back. Did you ask? No, I did not ask. No, I forgot to ask. Okay, go back again. 3 times he goes. But 3 times he forgets to. He does not ask anything. Because who is he standing in front of? She is Bhavatarini. She is the Divine Mother who can help you transcend bhava, samsara. If you go to Bhavatarini and ask for more bhava from her, how does it work? How does it work? We are asking for more. There's a bridge. We are crossing the bridge. That is what we should do. Bridges are there to cross, not to build a house over. Isn't it? We can't build a bridge on a house and live there. Bridge is there so that we cross over the river. This world is also like that. We are here to cross, not to make this comfortable. And when we want to make this comfortable, and God is thinking, hey, but I did not send you here for that. I sent you here for another purpose. So sometimes we come in conflict. He's got a plan, we've got a plan, the plans do not match. Then stress. We are stressed. And then we are distressed. Then we are diseased. Finally we are deceased. And then what happens? Punarapi Jananam. We are born again. And we go through the same problem. We go through the same cycle again and again and again until God also says, enough, I'll send you a guru. I'll send you a master. The grace of God, the ultimate fruition of the grace of God takes the form of the master, of the guru. That alone can be called grace. Nothing else can be called grace. If you say, I got a parking spot because of grace, it's fine. You may say it, but that is not grace. What is grace? Satsanga is grace. The ability to associate ourselves with a master is grace. The ability to receive his teachings is grace. Because that alone will put an end to this endless cycle. All these things are not going to put an end to the cycle. That which we are stressed about today, think about it, even if it is solved, what is going to happen? Something else is going to come up. Isn't it? If you have a house, you will know. You fix one thing, and you finished it, 6 months later something else breaks. You look at the body, what happens? Many times I say this, why does this body have so many organs? Think about it. There are single-celled organisms, they have only one cell, and they are able to live. And God in His intelligence could have made us one big single-celled organism. We could have had hands, legs, everything, but one single-cell organism, yes? But no, He made so many different organs, so many different things. There's the brain, there are eyes, there are ears, so many different nerves. If you go here, there's something called gallbladder, there's something called pancreas, there's something called adrenal, small little things, there's something called appendix. It was like an appendix. It was added later on, appendix 1, appendix 2, you find in books. Like that it was added later on. Why? Who asked for it? Because if we don't have an appendix, we can't get appendicitis. The only purpose of the appendix is potentially for those people to give appendicitis. The only reason for the gallbladder is to have stones in it. Otherwise, some other organ could have taken care of it. But no, God designed this entire body in such a way, you fix one thing, something else will go wrong. And in order to make sure there are enough options to go wrong, He has made enough organs in the body. If we are going to say, I am going to be completely free from stress when my body is 100% healthy, when the entire world is going to be in a state of harmony and peace, when I have got enough money in the bank and it never goes down, always goes up, my inflation goes down, my bank balance goes up. We have these kind of expectations in our minds. The jobs that I go to should be perfect. The spouse that I have should be absolutely in harmony with me. My children should listen to everything I say. Everybody should acknowledge me. Everybody should be happy with me. Everybody should respect me. And this is all we want, isn't it? Think about it. And when one of these things go wrong, we become stressed. And all our prayers then are only dedicated to making sure all of these things are going fine, perfect. Health should be perfect. Who ever goes to God and says, give me disease? Is there anyone who goes to God and says, give me problems? There is. There was one person, Kunti Devi. Kunti in the Srimad Bhagavatam tells the Lord, give me difficulties. Give me troubles. Why would anybody ask for troubles? Because what had happened? The entire Mahabharata war had finished. Yudhishthira was crowned. The Pandavas had won. And Krishna said, okay, Tata, bye-bye, I'm going back to Dwarka now. So he was leaving them. At that time, Kunti came and said, when all the time my sons were having problems and troubles, you were there with us. Now that all the troubles have ceased, you have decided to go away from us. If this is the case, then let me have troubles. If troubles would bring you to me, then give me more and more troubles. I do not want this ease when you go away from me. Maybe we are not as mature as Kunti to ask for troubles. But at least we can stop asking for small favors. All these small favors. Instead, what can we do? We can accept everything that comes from Him, knowing it is coming from a place of love. He loves us. And He wants us to come back to Him. And with that agenda in mind, He has planned out our life for us. Every single incident that happens in our life, every single person that comes to us in our life, He has planned it out meticulously so that we may come sooner to Him. Now don't mistake it. Coming sooner to Him doesn't mean you'll kick the bucket sooner. Coming to God doesn't mean that you'll have to die and go to God. Coming to God means awakening the inner Satchitananda. That inner divinity which is present within us always at all times, except that we do not recognize it, we do not realize it, that we will start to realize. Once we go within, you will start to realize. When you cry to your mother Shama, with that longing cry, she will come to you. We never have to go to God. We never have to go to God. It is God who comes to us all the time. All we have got to do is call out to Him in such a way that He cannot hold Himself back, but He will rush to us. But that can only happen when we have freed our mind space from all of these concerns that we have got. The reason why we have these concerns is only because we think if I have all of these desires fulfilled, I will be happy. We have to have the viveka, the intelligence to realize that no matter how many times these desires are fulfilled, another desire is going to crop up. It's not the end of it. If I've eaten today, am I going to stop eating for my life? Am I not going to eat again tomorrow? Like that, if I have a desire today and it is fulfilled, is it going to be the end of all my desires? Is there not another desire waiting in the wings? So instead of desiring these little things, if I desired Him, if I wept for Him, if I shed a tear for Him, if I cried to Him with a real longing cry, then that will be the end of all desires. In that would we find the ultimate bliss, and when we attain that bliss alone can we become blessed. Without bliss, how can we become blessed? And bliss comes only when we attain God. It is only when we realize God that we can find bliss. What we have now is not bliss. There's a difference between happiness and bliss. We have sukha now. In Sanskrit, we use two words. One is called sukha, the other is called ananda. Sukha is happiness or joy. Ananda is bliss. There's a reason why we give these names to it. Happiness has got an antonym, has got an opposite. Unhappiness. Joy has got an opposite, grief. Ananda does not have an opposite. There is no such thing as anananda. There is no happiness to ananda, to bliss. There's no opposite. Antonym is not there for it. For everything else there's an antonym. That means you can have joy, but that joy can transform itself into sorrow. You can have pleasure, but the pleasure can become pain. Dvandvas are there, the dualities are there. For Ananda, there is no duality. Because Ananda comes only in unity. When you have united with God, that is when you can have Ananda. And that Ananda does not have an opposite to it. So what we have now, we know it is limited. The joys that we have now are all limited. You want to watch movies, you want to watch a marathon of movies, fine, watch. How long can you watch? After some time, the eyes are going to become tired. You have an all-you-can-eat buffet. Yes, but how long can you eat? After some time, your stomach is full. After some time, your tongue is cloyed. You can hear music, but after some time, it starts ringing. The senses using which we enjoy this world are themselves limited. When the senses are limited, the amount of joy they can give you is also limited. Your eyes are not unlimited, your ears are not unlimited, they are limited. And when they are limited, what you gain from them is also equally limited. The heart is not limited. So what you gain from the heart is also unlimited. But you can only gain from the heart when you have given it to Him. It is only in giving that we shall receive. We had that prayer a little while ago. For it is only in giving that we shall receive. What is this giving and what is this receiving? When we give our hearts to Him, Hrid, Vak, Vapurbi, Vidadhan. When we hand over our entire being, our mind, our heart to God, then we receive this bliss. We receive Him in the form of this bliss. So the easiest and the best way to move from a state of stress to a state of bliss is by first stop giving importance to all the things that give you stress. If something is giving you stress, why do you give importance to it? If something is giving you bliss, why do you not give importance to it? Doesn't it make sense? If you put your hand into the fire, it will burn. So what do? You take it out of it. If you put your mind into this world, it hurts. So what should you do? The same thing that you did by retracting your finger from the fire is what you would do, retract your mind from this world. But if you retract it, where do you put it? That's where he says very clearly to us, cry to Mother Shama instead. With a real cry. Not an artificial cry. Because unfortunately for us, she is sitting in our hearts, so she knows whether our cry is real or not. Since she is sitting in our heart, she knows whether this cry is coming from a place of truth, longing or not. Sri Ramakrishna would say that the child is playing with toys and the mother is cooking in the kitchen. As long as the child is playing with the toys, the mother will be busy with the making her food. But when the child starts to cry, then the mother will come. Immediately when the child starts to cry, the mother will come. And as soon as the mother comes, she will look and see whether she can continue to engage the child with toys. So she'll give another toy. She will take away the toy that the child is bored with and give a new toy. And if the child gets enamored of the new toy, she can go back to the kitchen and start cooking again. But no matter what she gives, if the child throws everything away and cries for her, then she will switch off the stove, come and pick up the child and hold the child in her arms. This example he would give to us. God is doing that. The Divine Mother is doing that to us. She is giving us toys. We do not even know to play with the toys. At least in the story, the child would play with the toy. We do not even know to play with these toys. We get stressed by these toys. God has given all this as toys to us to play with. So that, just to test our resolve, do we really want Him or are we happy with all of this? We are not even happy with it, we are stressed with it. Even when we are stressed, at least we should be able to throw it and call out to the Lord. With a real longing cry. If you do that, then He will come. But He won't immediately take us up into His arms because, Divine Mother wants to check. I have to cook. So I want to see whether you really want me or can I tempt you with something else. So here, take this. Then we are immediately caught up with that. So one thing became a problem, we wanted to throw it away, so another opportunity comes, now we are happy with this. We don't realize that this is also going to become a problem sometime later. But it doesn't matter, He has also got patience. So eventually, when we run out of patience and we throw everything away and call only for the Lord is going to come and take us up in His arms. And when that happens, we are blessed. time So we will stop here and give our deepest gratitude and thanks to the Holy Master, Sri Ramakrishna, the Divine Master, the Great Master, and to Holy Mother and to Swamiji, and to Swamiji for having invited us to come and share all of these thoughts with all of you. We met him in Tiruvannamali when he had come to our house and had a bhiksha there, but then it was nice again to meet up with you and come and meet with everybody else also here in the Vedanta Center. we offer this talk, as we offer everything else, to the lotus feet of the Lord. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayam, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkhabhag bhavet. Loka samastha sukhino bhavantu, loka samastha sukhino bhavantu, loka samastha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Sai Ishwararpanamastu.
That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you very, very much. We now like to invite Swami Atmeshananda to provide or give a token of appreciation to our guest speaker. Once again, as a show of appreciation to our guest speaker, can we give him a warm round of applause? We will soon have our Arati and Prasad distribution, which will happen down below, and I'll guide you where we have to go. But I will, as the guest speaker says, wear the tiger's mask and stop you for a while. I have a few announcements to make. This place has got several events happening all the time. And our next event is on Saturday, the 24th of June, where we are celebrating the International Yoga Day. There will be experienced teachers who will take us through some yoga practices and talk to us about the science of Ayurveda. There will be stalls selling a variety of items, and our Ma Sarda's kitchen will serve delicious food at our nominal prices. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Ma Sarda's kitchen is open every Saturday from 10 to approximately 1:30, 10 to 1. And we sell food, mostly South Indian food. Sometimes we have specials from North India. And much of the proceeds from that food goes into our soup kitchen that feeds the needy on Fridays, where we give away free cooked food, and we also give away free dry hampers to several people. We started off some 2 years ago cooking just about 50 meals a month. Now we are doing something like 150 meals a week. So for those of you who like some warm Indian food and home cooked style, fresh from the kitchen, every Saturday from 10 to 1. So next Saturday, 24th June, we have our yoga day. On Sundays, every last Sunday of the month, we have Kirtan and a Langa program jointly conducted by the Namadri Sikh Society. That happens on every Sunday, right? And again, it'll be a program where we have some Kirtans beginning at about 10:30 to 11, and it ends with a sumptuous lunch. And that is provided by the Namadri Sikh Society. Guru Purnima, which will actually happen on the 5th of July, but we will celebrate it on the 2nd of July here. We pay homage to our teachers in general and to spiritual teachers in particular. We will have representatives of the multi-faith community here on this occasion. And again, this will be on the 2nd of July 2023. Check our social media and websites for information about the events. And for those of you who can't come here too often, we recommend that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Vedanta Brisbane, so that if you cannot come personally to the ashram, you can watch the program from the comforts of your home. So now we will have the Arati, and immediately after the Arati, what will happen is you go up, put on your footwear, and take a walk down the slope of the car park to our patio down below. There are classes that are going on in the hall, in the interior hall, so we will have our prasad in the exterior patio. Anyway, it's a really beautiful day. I think the temperature is just about 21 degrees, almost air-conditioned comfort. It'll be very nice to have it outdoors. Okay, right now we will have the Arati. Thank you very much.